Hello, everyone. I wanted to show and tell my Excel sheet that I've been working on for the past couple of weeks. The goal was to create a dynamic Excel sheet that I could change very few things and it would kind of auto update for each semester. If you do all this manually, it is a pain because you have to change your start date, you got to change your end date, you got to change every date down here, and then maybe the day of the week if it changes. Um, So I wanted to try to avoid all of that. That way, all I had to do was move around the actual like holidays. Labor Day and Thanksgiving would need to go to President's Day and spring break on different days or different parts of the semester. So those are expected, but if I can make everything be as easy as possible, such as just changing the start date, it'll change absolutely everything. That was the goal. And I think I've succeeded. So I want to show you a few things that I've done that I thought were interesting using some Excel formulas. And if you want me to go into any further detail on exactly how it works, I'd be glad to do so. Just let me know. So this all starts with the start date of the first class. So my first class is CNS 111. It's in the first sheet column or first sheet slot. And that I can manually type that in. Everything else references that date. So the end dates, these dates down here, all reference the start date of that class. If I go to my second class here, notice that I'm still referencing that E6 on that first sheet. That way I can just change this in one place and it's there. Now, the exception here for that are my Tuesday, Thursday classes. So what I do is I reference that and add one to it. So if this is going to be a Monday, Wednesday class in the future, all I need to do is take that +1 off, and it goes back to a Monday, Wednesday class. Notice that my days of the week also change because they're also referencing the dates next to them. So if I add 1 here, notice down here, the dates change as well as the days of the week. That is pretty handy. So for the most part, that's it for this entire, for all my class sheets. Because the topics, they're going to be manually put in. I need to move things around. That's fine. One other thing on these sheets, and then we'll move on to the calendar portion of it, is the 16-week course up in A6. Most of my courses are now going to be 16 weeks, but if I need to do an 8-week summer course or an 8-week course during the semester, I can put in an 8 here, and we'll see that the end date, which is currently at 17 weeks in the future, should go to 8 weeks in the future. The only time that would probably be incorrect are for second 8-week courses. They may be 8 weeks of instruction plus a finals week. So if that's the case, I would probably just go ahead and manually add that, or I could do 8 weeks and then I can just do +1 at the end. Let's say I want to do all the same courses, they're at the same times. I just need to shift them from fall semesters to the spring semester. Theoretically, all I would have to do is type in 1-/11/2021. I can't just type in 1/11 here because it's going to assume 2020. But since I'm in the future on the next year, I do need to put in 2021. If I press enter, we see all the dates are updated. The end date is automatically updated. And because since every sheet references that same dates, notice how all of these are also for the spring semester, all the way across. So it did a lot of work for me. Now let's take this back, 8/17. Since it's 2020, I can just hit enter, it'll assume. Wonderful. I wanted to create a calendar based off that information. Sure, I could have done something a little bit different. I could have taken the weekly tracker and reformatted them to where it was a little bit easier. But I do like this format per class to see exactly, okay, this is what we're tentatively going to be talking about this day and what we might see in terms of in-class hands-on labs, and also when tests are due. So I like this format. I wanted to try to take this and convert it using formulas and make it into a calendar where myself and students can edit this or show different things and see what's going to be on the calendar, then they can print it off. But the real reason why I did this, because I want to make sure that I wasn't overloading students with tests all due in one day. With 10 courses, it kind of made sense for some things to line up and then we end things at the same time. I just didn't want to get to a point during the semester and I was like, okay, we've got 5 tests due on one day. Oops. So that was the main motivation behind doing this. Plus, it was an awesome Excel challenge. So let me show you what I'm doing here. If I scroll up to the top, it all starts with the month. What I'm doing is I'm referencing that same start date from that first sheet over here, E6. And then I'm converting it to just show the full month name and the full year name using that same text formula that I was getting the days of the week. So 4Ms gives the full month and then 4Ys gives the full year. And because there's no date here, it assumes that it is August 1st if I was to reference this later on, which I do. To get the days of the week, the numbers, to where they are dynamically updated, I need to reference this sheet or this cell and then come up with a way to see, okay, is Sunday the first day of the month? If not, put in a blank. And it does this all the way across. And I also have an if function says, hey, rather than do that end of month or that beginning of the month calculation, if there's already a date in the cell before me, that means that was the beginning of the month or the day before that was. So just add 1 to that. So for example, in Thursday here, if D5 equals nothing, or it does not equal nothing, that's what the less than greater than symbol together mean. If it doesn't equal nothing, then just do that plus 1. Otherwise, let's do the beginning of the month calculation to see if today is that month. And we see with August 2020 that Saturday is the first day. I can confirm that by opening up my calendar. And we see that, Saturday was the first day. And once we're past that part, all we need to do is reference that previous cell and add 1 to it. And that works for the next 3 rows. But starting with that 4th row of dates and 5th one, we have the possibility of ending the month on those weeks. So we do an end of the month calculation. It says, hey, A2 up here. And if that is greater than the previous cell or the previous calendar date, G20 over here, then go ahead and just add 1 to that because you haven't reached the end of the month. But if that is greater than the end of the month, then we'll just put in nothing. So we can see with 31 down here does the same thing, but we've got to our end of the month calculation and it just puts in a blank here. And all I need to do is copy all of this over and do the same thing right next to it for September. I'm gonna get the scroll bar here, there we go. And rather than reference the sheet 1 again, all I'm doing is referencing this and I'm adding 31 days to it. And since I'm formatting it with just the month and year, it automatically just assumes it's the first day of the month. So it doesn't matter how many days I added to it, as long as it's more than a month. So, and all of these formulas down here moved over. So I see that Tuesday is the first of this month. And October, November, and December are all here. If I wanted to keep on going, if I have a course or if I've got something that I want to do a full calendar year for, I can keep on going. No problem, but for my weekly tracker, this is all I needed. All right. Before I move on to the formulas, something else I thought was really nice is to do conditional formatting. Because I wanted the current date to be highlighted. And if I select everything and under conditional formatting, I want to look at my rules here. And I've got a rule here that says, hey, if A1 equals today, then highlight it blue. And how this works is, since I'm referencing A1, every time that it goes to like B1, C1, it just replaces it with itself. So that's why it's able to look at the entire section. And if any of these cells matches that, it's going to highlight it blue. So we get this nice little blue highlight on August 5th. And since this is a formula conditional formatting, this is always updating. So as soon as it hits midnight, it'll go over to August 6th. All right, so here's what took a couple of weeks. All that wasn't too bad, you know, just doing some simple addition and simple multiplication. So this is where the crazy comes in. I want to show in each of these cells below the dates what is due or what we're working on in class. I needed to find a way to be able to say, okay, if the calendar date equals something over here, pull homework, online labs, in-class hands-on, or tests. And the tests are a little bit different because I'm currently having them do online on Sunday. So Sunday at 11:59. So, but in-class hands-on, online labs, and homework, all are going to correspond with the dates over here. And I wanted to do that per sheet. I wanted to get it formatted to where it looked nice in that one cell. And once I had all of that, that wasn't too bad, but I wanted the ability to show different things per class. You know, for me, I didn't want homework in CNS 122 and 222 because there's not going to be anything in that section. So I wanted to go ahead and hide it, but absolutely I wanted to show the online labs. So in each one of these cells, it is checking down here, all right, if this equals show, then let's do the calculation. If not, if it's not, it's obviously set to hide, so don't do the calculation. So starting off with the first day of school, we're going to be doing lab 157 and intro to networks. And because this is intro to networks, that is my CNS 113 course, I have the in-class hands-on to show. If I set this to hide, we should see that all the intro to networks should go away. And we see that. So if I do show again, they'll pop back up. And notice that they automatically updated for all the other ones as well. The tricky part about this is getting it to only show or not show that particular course if I don't want any of those to come up. Now this is global down to here. It's not per day. If I don't want it to show up, I would then need to show the weekly tracker. So that gets into a lot of exceptions I didn't want to get into. So let's take a look on how I did this. I want you to copy this entire formula. Don't worry, it's a lot longer than that one formula line up there. But I need to pull this somewhere else to edit it because it's a little bit unwieldy in the formula bar. If I do Control V to paste, we see that as the whole deal. I'm going to do word wrap. This is the formula that is in each one of those cells. Kind of insane. So how this is working is I'm using concatenation, but rather than using and wasting up that concatenation formula, I am actually using the ampersand. And let me show you how that works. I'll minimize this real quick. I had a helper sheet to keep me sane. So for each item, for homework, online labs, in-class hands-on, and tests, it's got its own formula. So if I pull this down, you can see the entire thing. And under the, I said I wasn't going to go into too much detail on the formulas, so I'm still going to stick to that. But what I needed was not just what was in the cell, but also pull the name of the course, so that way when it showed up over here on the calendar, I knew what it corresponded to. So Intro to Networks 157. The reason this works is, let's take a look at the actual course here. in-class hands-on. All right, I wanted to pull the course name, which is E3. And I was able to pull that out of the cell using this text formula, finding what was in the middle. If I look at E3 on CNS 113, here's E3. And at the 14th character, we see CNS 113. And that's what I'm pulling. I'm pulling the first 99 characters of that, or actually the first 100 here. Now, all of these have been updated to do something a little bit different, but essentially this is how each lookup works. And I'm also doing this ampersand, and I'm inserting a colon space to get the formatting right. And then I am doing my lookup. And that's all of this section here. That's all it is, doing the lookup. And if it doesn't find anything, it'll return a not available. And I've got all this wrapped in a if NA. So if it's not available, it's just going to return a nothing. But if it does, not only do I need to return the value, I also need to return a special character, which is a line break. Notice how in the calendar, everything is kind of nicely formatted. It's got one course, it's got the labs, and then it's got a line break. The character symbol for that is 10. So if I just put in this character or char and put in 10s in parentheses, then it'll put in a line break for me. And at the very end of that, we have an ampersand because all I'm doing is doing this and that all the way down. 40 different formulas all put together. And in doing so, it creates this thing here. And I've got it formatted in such a way that the only thing that changes between this cell and this cell is its reference to the date. Notice how this D25 here, that's referencing the date above. If I hit the right arrow, it's saying E25, F25, G25, and then down here, we've got, where is it? A30, there it is. So it's saying, hey, if I'm gonna look up this date on all of these sheets down here, and if that matches anything on the right side, I'll pull it and I'll put it on the calendar. So that's my Excel sheet in a nutshell. And maybe that doesn't make me too much of a nutcase, but this was fun for me to do. It was a nice little challenge. The only thing that was a little bit worrisome was the length of the formula and how it would perform. I've got a Surface laptop that I'm working and recording on right now, and it's a little bit, there's a little bit of a performance set, mainly because I'm recording at the same time as well as doing to the cloud and doing this Excel sheet. If I right-click the taskbar, Task Manager, we can take a look at the performance. See, Microsoft Excel, it's got really no CPU going on right now, as well as a little more than 1/10 of a gigabyte of memory. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the right side here, open up Excel, and I am going to add a test to the end of the first week. So let's say chapter 1 test, and we'll make this due on 8/23. I'm looking over at Excel and checking out the CPU and everything. If I press enter, we see that Excel jumps up to about 3.4%, and then it goes down after everything updates. And I should see that over here on the calendar, if I maximize this again, we've got that PC Basics 1 Chapter 1 test pull up there. Fantastic. Now, I told you that everything is tied to the start date here. Me changing that on this one sheet should affect every single sheet here. And I want to see the performance hit on this. So Excel went up to about 5% there. All right, I want to type in 1/11/2021 and press enter. So really not too much of a performance hit. Great. So that I did that one live. I didn't know what that would look like. This is on a Microsoft Surface, so it's a laptop. So it's not a desktop, not a huge performance CPU, not a whole lot of RAM. So that was good, nice to see. One last thing. I told you that everything references the start date. Let me show you this. Check out the calendar. It also automatically updated. And since everything fell in line, all the dates updated. The only thing that didn't update were the tests. And that's actually fairly easy to do if I want to make that dynamic as well. So in order to do that, I'll show you that real quick. If this is always going to be the Sunday after the week, what I can do is if I always put this on the Wednesday or Thursday, if this is a Wednesday class, I can always do +4, right? So this should equal this +4. And that gets me to that Sunday. And if I go down the calendar, we see that Sunday, chapter 1 test is due. So if I update this back to 8/17, we see that the test due is been changed to 8/23, which is the day before that next Monday. So hope you found this interesting. If you're at all curious about how the formulas work, going into a deep dive in some of these things, please let me know. I am obviously interested in going into it. So, but if nothing else, I hope this can help you in creating your weekly trackers, or for any teacher out there creating any kind of tracker for their class for the semester. And if you want to go into a deep dive of anything, and maybe this give you some inspiration, say, oh, I don't like how you did this, but it can then go into mine like this. It makes my life a whole lot easier. That's the goal. Anyway, good luck getting ready for the year. Stay safe out there.